Check, check, check.
Check, check.
Rain pounds the Southland. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
When did we start calling? See, I can't. She's a mom now. I can't make a joke about your girlfriend about calling her the Southland. Anyway, guys, hey, this is episode 391 of the Anthem podcast, coming to you from all over LA. But Corey is there in the Anthem studios, gentrifying LA, one neighborhood at a time. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening on your podcatcher of choice. The easiest way, anchor.fm/Anthem.
So this is going to be a technically error-filled episode. We are going to have to take a break in the middle and come back very shortly. Also, I can't see because I can't wear contacts anymore. So everything is blurry beyond about this far away, which means that running, because we don't have a producer who's reliable, running anything is going to be very difficult. And I would wear the glasses. We could adjust the ring light so that, it works. Except for, as someone pointed out at work today, without the beard, you look like a middle-aged lesbian. So that's enough of the glasses for today. But coming up later on NPR.
I kind of am a little bit upset that somebody else got to that joke before I did.
You saw me all weekend with them, and you said nothing. I don't know. I don't know where your head's at.
I think it's because I felt bad for you. Honestly, No, I kid. I think you actually look good in the glasses. I wouldn't listen to what those kids say.
On an unrelated note, I will be hitting the gym very soon, and I
don't think that'll help with the lesbian.
So I think that the problem is that since the pandemic started, I've taken on a generally a square shape with rounded corners, and what I need to do.
You're like the new android.
Yeah, I need to just tighten it up. I need to get down to the next size of t-shirt so I can wear something a little tighter, a little more form-fitting, so that you see that the shoulders are broad, the waist is narrow, the guts hanging out. I'm basically like a 1930s weightlifter. That's what I'm looking for. That's the shape, generally speaking, where I can. No, it's fine. Why don't you breathe out? I'm good, thanks.
Where I see you lifting your big triangular weights.
Ooh, ah. Bully for you, sir. Yes. Anyway, so I'm having a bad day, but I'm not the only one having a bad day. The entire corporation of Facebook, not only having a bad day, but having what seems like the worst week ever. Cue the
bringing that one back from stealing that from VH1.
First of all, half the people at my work are younger than that show. All right, so we're not stealing it from anybody. They let their rights lapse. We're taking it. That's fine. But
if you don't currently have a show called The join us next week for our podcast, The Beverly Hillbillies.
I feel like it's like the Fantastic Four rights. Either you got to make an episode every couple of years or you lose
You got to get Roger Corman in there or else you lose it.
Sometimes you're just going to make a real shitty version just to make sure you keep the rights and then no one will ever see it. But it's there. It exists. 1994.
Just got all this walking up on set just going so I'm thinking a little bit about the backstory of my character, and it's it really doesn't matter. We're just trying to keep rights.
No, the 2000 one was good. The
We
94
gotta make an
one.
honest show of it every once in a while. So
The
we
94
brought you
one
in.
is the lost one. The
Believe it
2000
or
one
not,
is
Jessica
great.
Alba, you cost less than keeping the rights of Fantastic Four. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Uh,
Thanks.
costs less to hire you than it does to keep a property.
So
So
back to the topic. we got because
we'll get into the
tight.
IATSE strike later. It's
Yes.
okay.
Facebook. Huge outage today. In fact, if you're watching this right now, I know for sure you're not watching on Facebook because it's not available. The API is still down. But I really wanted to talk about this, not just because of the outage, because like honestly, it was a relief. Not Facebook. I don't care about Facebook. I have enough toxic people in my life than to bring them in via my phone. But Instagram being down showed me how addicted I am to Instagram, because I probably spent the first 2 hours of the outage opening Instagram, pulling down and trying to get fresh posts and just not having it work, and then being like, oh yeah, there's an outage. And then I'd like work for a second or two, and then I'd be like, what's going on Instagram? And then I'd pull it down and just like a goldfish that had a 3-second memory, just basically that over and over again. So
It's amazing how often I open the same 4 apps on my phone in just a random succession, like something new is like
absolutely.
I was on set, like there wasn't anything, like I was in downtime at the moment, so I was on Twitter, and then about 30 seconds later I was just like, oh, I wonder if anything new's on Twitter.
Yeah. I don't know. They've gotten the key to us. I am just waiting for Instagram to suggest me the self-harm and how to diet accounts, because clearly he doesn't know me at all. I just made a statement about being a middle-aged lesbian and wanting to go to the gym, although maybe this is what it'll take for Instagram to find those accounts that suggest them today.
Yeah, so the outage is obviously news, but I would say that the news that you were bringing up there about IG accounts dedicated, or like what basically the algorithm serves up to people, is tremendously fascinating.
Well, and obviously, for those who didn't see the story, Facebook came forward and said, we found out this unbelievable thing. We are going to address it using any of the resources that are necessary to address it. The CEO, who's not Zuckerberg, by the way, it was on Meet the Press all weekend, or on the shows all weekend, saying, we know this is a problem. We are trying to fix it as much as we can. And unfortunately, the outage was a result of that, I think, was all their fixes. That's basically how it worked, right?
No. Basically, what has happened is a whistleblower inside Facebook has released a bunch of internal documents that basically shows how bad Facebook is and how bad it knows it is, and like that it's more or less cigarette companies like when they knew that it caused cancer and didn't say anything about it.
Stop
like,
running the ads with the doctors on them. We know that that's probably not a good idea anymore. But
pulling through my Facebook feed and seeing a doctor saying Facebook, it's good for you. It's not helping your point right now.
4 out of 5 doctors would choose Facebook for their social media addiction.
But I mean, if you're hearing this and this is news to you, please, there are many fine articles written about it. There was a piece on 60 Minutes this week about the woman who released all those documents. And, I mean, it's what I was thinking about a lot with Facebook being down today, especially with like a lot of Latin America being like basically WhatsApp is the way they communicate with one another.
Yep.
And having it down being such a humongous thing. It reminds me of when Jerry Brown got recalled.
Mm-hmm.
A big part of it was because California was suffering from rolling blackouts.
That's right.
And the reason why they were suffering from rolling blackouts is because I don't think it was Enron, but it was companies like Enron owned the California grid and would just randomly shut off electricity to large swaths of people at a time
because
to make
profitability,
the value of the energy more higher.
Yeah.
Because when the power goes off, people will pay almost anything to get it back on. So,
and because of that we got
effectively
Arnold Schwarzenegger as governor. So thanks, Enron.
I mean, it wasn't the worst thing that California's ever done. I mean, Dianne Feinstein is still in office. I'd rather have Senator Schwarzenegger than Dianne Feinstein.
And this situation has finally gotten Corey to the point of saying he would go to her house if it was necessary.
And knock on the door and say, hey, stop it. If she would stop it, if I asked her nicely at her door to do it, then I would do it.
I think though that
I would walk like Forrest Gump to fucking Sacramento or San Francisco and just be like, ma'am, please stop. And she's like, nobody ever put it to me so broadly before.
like, thank you, sir.
I'll stop.
I think the biggest reveal though of the whistleblower, like we all knew, it's gaming. The algorithm is not bad. It's very good at what it does. Like I can be thinking about, I want to get some storage units for my apartment. I want some like little cubbies or something. Next thing you know, I'm getting suggested fucking cubbies. I'm looking through my t-shirts saying, you know what, I probably should buy some new t-shirts. About that time, all of a sudden I'm getting like 5 classic tees on sale. Just buy. And I'm like, oh, motherfucker. Like, and Corey, you this weekend showed us that you were the victim of an Instagram ad.
It was an Instagram ad, but it was something that I had been thinking about purchasing.
Listen,
and
much like every relationship,
anytime I had looked, I mean, if I went on Instagram and they said private jet for you, $150, yeah, I'm gonna buy it. I'm not like I don't, yeah. If $150 goes out the window and it's like some like fake like little miniature or something like that, then fool, you know, I'm a fool in that situation. But if it's an actual private jet, $150 is an unbelievable price.
I just, I want to acknowledge that much like every relationship in your life, no matter how bad it is, you refuse to call it abuse. So bully for you. Bully for you. That's, you describe a situation which is in fact abuse. And then you're like, but it's cool. I love her. I love her. It's fine. You know, we'll be together forever. At least the next
Do not
18
listen
years.
to the man in the box next to me.
Oh, sorry.
Also,
and it was a guy down on his
sleeping
knee.
right over here while we're podcasting loudly. So
okay, so if you hear snoring in the background, that's the
it's
woman of
producer
dreams.
Brooks. That's the other one sleeping on the bed.
Are we gonna act? Are we gonna pretend like she doesn't snore? Come on now. I have been on the couch when she's snoring.
It's not. I snore. She doesn't do that.
That's true. It's all relative. By the way, I'm sure you assume everyone has seen Squid Games, and this is not a spoiler for Squid Games, but I just want you to know, if you understand the concept of it, that the next version, Squid Games 2, is going to have a room with a baby crying, Corey snoring, and a dog running around under the blankets with you, and it's going to be like, if you don't fall asleep, you will die. Because Rachel is about to enter the goddamn Squid Games with that. I don't know. My mom, my dad used to snore really bad. Go ahead.
Add on Good Wife playing like top volume on the TV as I'm sleeping.
My mom
Can't
said
find the
that
remote.
after a few years,
How will Alicia solve this case?
my mom said after a few years, she really got used to my dad snoring, and then she went to the doctor, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're partially deaf in that ear." I just assume that's Rachel's future. It's just going to be like, and maybe bad for her. Baby on one side, the smaller new baby on the other side, and just a lot of noise in the room.
Thankfully, I project into the wall.
So we thought Facebook was having the worst week ever. Rachel's going to have a 18-year sentence she's about to start. So all the jokes I've made about Corey, I mean, really, I should be feeling bad for Rachel. I think that's the moral of this story.
Getting back to Facebook real quick.
Wait, before that, though, just so everybody knows, we're 4 weeks out now? 4 weeks out?
Yeah, something like that.
Are we going to start a baby watch at some point where we're like counting down?
I mean, we don't know when it's going to happen. So that kind of makes it,
Let's take some bets. Let's get a grid going.
I mean, if people want to start gambling on my baby, I won't dissuade them. As long as you do it in one of the states that allows for it.
Corey's got the 6th at 8 a.m. and he's just like, Doc, I'm just thinking maybe we just induce. We could probably just induce, right?
Listen, I got it on a block. Come on. Got a Halloween on a block.
I'm very much over leveraged on this particular bet. Doc, you have control of this. Let's get this thing going.
The other thing I'm doing is like I want to work literally as much as I can up until like 2 weeks before the delivery date, just so I'm not like on set during the time. But like I would literally, I kind of have like an airline style, like going to the airport style mentality about this. I'd like to work until the day before the baby is like just stack some checks and then fucking go be with the baby for a while.
Well, we gotta get Rachel back to work as soon as possible. So,
but then I'm also worried that like I'm going to be on set one day, and I'm just gonna get the call, and I'm just gonna be like, well, there's I have kind of limited options at this moment.
Would you not leave set for the birth of your child?
No, of course I would, but I'm saying like there's I would feel bad about it. I would feel really bad about it. I'd want somebody to like come in and replace me before I leave, you know?
So we're just hoping that Rachel has a long and painful delivery so that the time is built in for you to get off set and get home.
No, I would like her to handle the delivery much like she has the pregnancy and not know about it until it happens.
Yeah, and so you come home from set and she's laying in your bed, that bed right next to you, with a baby and just a mess everywhere.
She's just gonna be walking to the TV one day and just be like, "Oh, I gotta sneeze," and then the baby will come out, and then we'll look at each other, and I'll be like, "Do we go to the hospital?" Like,
Roberto comes out, whips out his pocket knife. I got this. Let's do it.
they gotta do something with this cord, right?
I got it. We're handled. It's fine. Here.
Somebody put it in the freezer. I'm gonna save it.
By the way, put it in the freezer. I will eat it. If you guys don't want to eat it, I will eat it. There's going to be I need to get some. I said I got to get in the gym. I'm going to put it in my pre-workout every day.
All right. So back to Facebook.
Speaking of other things you're going to see on Facebook. Yeah, go ahead.
Tell me again about the story about the fake 13-year-old girl profile that some journalist made.
Yeah. So just basically they made a bunch of fake profiles, which were all 13-year-old girls. And then they took posts from real 13-year-old girls and reposted them. So this fake account was only friends with other fake accounts and real 13-year-old girls. And it didn't interact with any of the accounts that weren't the fake accounts. It just so basically they were controlling for what the algorithm was getting fed. And it was just basically like apparently random 13-year-old girl stuff. I don't know what 13-year-old girls do. Barbies? Is that mall date?
It seems a little old, but I mean, I'll buy it. Sure, Barbies.
Doing blow in the bathroom at school. I don't know. Kids these days. But anyway, so they gave it just regular Instagram content. And it took less than 48 hours for Instagram to suggest self-harm and diet accounts. So,
yeah.
Basically,
well, I mean, the other version of this we saw once before was like that Twitter bot that was supposed to learn from the internet based off of what it told her. And within like 72 hours, it was just like Hitler was right. And
yeah.
all kinds of really dumb, awful stuff.
Was that the same bot that said that humans are nice? I would never enslave them out of nowhere. Like,
I mean, it sounds on brand. I mean,
yeah.
Really, what? Here's the thing that should terrify the shit out of people. It's not that you are thinking about a t-shirt and just randomly t-shirt accounts show up in your Instagram. Like Facebook knows you so well that it is able to do that. Facebook knows what a person like you clicks on and likes. So that's what they're giving you. They just have you can give it like fucking 5 individual touch points and it'll be able to figure out somebody who's remarkably like you.
Yeah.
And when they put the top 5, like classic 5 t-shirts or whatever in front of that other person who's just like Rob somewhere, they click, they buy it, So they assume that you're going to do it as well. And marketers are probably, you can be so specific about who you want to target.
Yeah.
I want to target Catholics in Maryland who are coming up on their first communion. Like, you can just type in all these things and then you start going like, oh man, this is fucking crazy. Facebook knows that my kid's about to have first communion and they're selling me communion insurance and shit like that. It's so easy to do some of these things, but at the same time, the fact that Facebook doesn't know what's going to happen once they change something is the truly terrifying part.
Yeah.
Because people's minds are so corruptible.
We're not evolved for this. We're not evolved for this level of being read and communication and anything. We are hairless monkeys who know how to use tools.
Not only that, but if you left your house, right, and you just walked around your town all afternoon and you just listened to what people said out loud, and that's all the information you ever got from anybody. You didn't read a book or check anything or confirm whether or not the aliens are coming. Like, you just like take the word for everyone you hear. Like, you're going to be an awful person because you can't disseminate like what is important and what is not.
Yeah.
And people on Facebook feel like any comment is the go to a restaurant, go to a restaurant on Yelp, right?
Oh,
Yelp's
God.
an awful example
Oh,
because
God.
Yelp is like fucking the worst place ever.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the mafia. If you don't know, Yelp is basically the mafia. Go onto a Yelp page, right? And you'll see like best sandwich in LA. Never had a better prime rib than this. Like fucking meatball sub is out of this world. One person writes, there was glass in my veggie sub one day. Like, people will not go to that restaurant.
Yes.
They think that like 1 out of every 4 sandwiches have glass because 1 of every 4 comments talked about it, you know? Like,
the other problem with Facebook, though, is that you can't beat it because it's A/B testing all the time. Like, yes,
yeah,
somebody like me would click on that classic tease ad. When I don't, it's like, okay, now I know you a little better. Now
Yeah.
I'm learning about it, and my suggestions are going to get better. I, in a perfect world, would love this because I hate ads. But wouldn't it be great if every ad I had to see was something I might legitimately be interested in? Sure. Not so much so when it's like, hey, you're nearing 40. Are these 3 symptoms happening to you? You could have prostate cancer. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's like WebMD. It's basically me on WebMD to myself. Like, I don't know, kind of a fever, dead. Okay, no, I don't have a fever. What about a cough? I mean, I've had a couple coughs. Dead. Okay, no, I don't have a cough. It's just, it's like the worst possible.
Let me put it to the people who lived in the before internet times, right? The before Facebook.
The before times.
You ever been driving around and you keep hearing the same song on the radio over and over again? It's like the hot song of the time. And then eventually you've heard it so many times where you're just like, well, I got to go buy this fucking album so I can hear the song whenever I want to. And then you've just bought an album for one song and you feel like an idiot because you're just like, why did I do that? It's because your brain is playing tricks on you and you don't know how this works.
Why would you have to buy an album for one song? You can just get the one song.
Again, before times. Before
okay.
Facebook,
yeah.
before
Right.
iPods.
But I mean, yeah, the
iPods. Tell me more, Grandpa.
The worst thing is the man, I hate this song. And then next thing you know, you hear a doo-doo-doo-doo, and you're like, Despacito, and just singing along with it.
So what's really funny is today I was on Amazon Studios for my shoot.
Oh,
And just like all I wanted to do all day was just go like it's like Jeffrey Bezos from Bo Burnham, but I didn't think it would be taken in the spirit it was intended.
Probably better that you didn't do that. I would imagine.
Yeah.
It could have gone not well for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so speaking of billionaires, let's shift away from Facebook and go to what will be a huge story for about 24 hours. A journalist will get assassinated, and then we'll never talk about it again. Oh wait, no, that was the other huge leak of thousands of financial documents showing a conspiracy for people to hide money overseas. This is a different one. That was Panama Papers. This is the Pandora Papers, which is different. And will also not.
It's different, like twice as big as Panama Papers.
Yes, yeah, twice as bad. Leaders, political people from all over the world, current and former, hiding money in all corners of the world. Billionaires hiding their income.
What I think is incredible about this story, though, is that it's literally like world leaders and 100 billionaires and several hundred millionaires, a small pathetic pattern of 100 millionaires.
How embarrassed are you when you're on the list and you're at the bottom and they're like, oh, this guy, 590
also
million.
By the way, Jeff Garcia of Toledo, Ohio, with his piddly $700 million.
Yeah, you're the big dick around town, and so you start getting thrown into groups with Jeff Bezos, and you're like, listen,
no, but
I ain't with
that
him.
That was the really funny part. They were saying like basically any world leader or billionaire you can think of is doing this. And there's like, except for Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, or Bill Gates. And I'm like, oh, okay. So basically what you're telling me is this is the version of tax evasion that people can afford as long as you're not Warren Buffett. They're doing something better. There's something.
Yeah, there's another one.
Greater.
There's another one out there. It might be South Dakota, who Buffett from Kansas. I feel like, maybe he'd know about that.
Or no, he's He's Nebraska, right?
Oh, Nebraska. That's right. Even closer. Even closer to South Dakota.
What was the? Because I can't remember his nickname. Like he's like the scion of something. I don't remember. Anyway, yes.
I don't fanboy
story.
Warren Buffett, so I have no.
Well,
idea.
I don't either, but he has a nickname, and I'm just it has something to do with where he's from. So.
Oh yeah, actually, I think you're right. Lincoln. It's a sign of Lincoln, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Hold on, this will take only a second. Warren Buffett. Why the fuck is nickname the first option on Google autocomplete? The Oracle of Omaha. That's
Oracle of Omaha. There we go. Sign of Lincoln. Listen, Warren, we're coming up with all of this stuff for
in the
free.
pre-show, I was looking up for a piece of information, and I Google and I type in South because I'm about to type in South Dakota tax haven. And what's the first option that pops out?
South Dakota tax
haven. It's like Google knows me somehow.
It's like it's listening to you at all the time.
Yeah, it's like I have fucking 18 of their microphones around me at any given point in time in my life.
Yeah, and the worst thing we would do is be like, "Hey Google,"
or see everything that I write on my phone, my Android phone. Yes. Going back to South Dakota real quick. You traditionally think of tax havens as like the British Islands or Ireland or like some South Asian country that you don't even know the name of because it's so small.
You would be bad at hiding money. Like the Seychelles up there, the Canary Islands up there, Solomon Islands up there. None of these on Corey's list. Corey's like, nah, I put my money where I trust it. Ireland. That's that's where I go.
I like it to be where I can see it.
By the way, I could see it in the Seychelles. It's a much better view than fucking Ireland in January. All right, I'm just saying.
Well, speaking of Ireland and South Dakota here, in 2011, South Dakota had $75.5 billion in trusts and other associated accounts, accounts that are traditionally used to transition money from one person to the other and paying as little taxes as humanly possible. Since 2011, South Dakota has gone crazy with the laws that allow pretty much anything and everything to go on in a trust.
Right, Republicans got to control the state, and things just went.
And now the trust assets that are being held in South Dakota as of 2020 is $367 billion. So we've basically, 4 times the amount that it was 10 years ago. And $367 billion, you say to yourself, oh, that's not a lot of money. That's as much money as Ireland makes in a year.
Yeah.
And economic output. This is a huge, huge sum of money.
A country where Apple is located. At
The
least
home
for tax
of
purposes.
Apple.
For tax purposes, that's all.
You peel off the made in California thing to find incorporated in Ireland.
Yeah, don't peel too hard, though, because it could be a bomb. So DeLorean cars, for those, people probably don't. The Back to the Future car was a DeLorean, and the DeLorean was a real car, and that was actually made in Ireland on the no man's land between Northern Ireland and Ireland. And basically, workers from both sides came in, and it was like this huge peace thing. But people in America who were not the rich people who would buy it, but the poor white trash who couldn't buy it, so they were judging it, said that they were concerned there might be a bomb in a DeLorean when it came over here. I'm like, bitch, the windows don't work. There ain't no bomb in this car, all right? You get in, you can't get out. There ain't no bomb.
Ireland's just happy to be making a car. Can you don't...
There were guys in that factory who were like, I haven't worked in 20 years. What do you want me to do? I'll do sweep floors. I got it. I'm done. What are we doing?
Good. You already know DeLorean. Name one other car that's ever come from the Isle of Ireland. None? Yeah, right. Exactly. That's how it works.
It makes me think of that Family Guy episode where they're like, Ireland, if whiskey is never invented.
Oh,
God.
Speaking of people who won't be working soon, IATSE.
Oh.
That was a joke because the Irish are notoriously lazy like me.
Wait. Before we talk about IATSE, because it's probably going to take a bit of time, we do need to take a break. Let's jam in a quick thing here. Let's talk about the Supreme Court.
I want to make it sure that because I'm not going to be able to finish that thought right now.
Yes.
That I wasn't saying IATSE people are lazy. I was saying that Irish people are lazy, and I'm an Irish, so.
Also,
I don't want there to be misconstrued
You are.
I'm fully behind the IATSE streak. I'm 100% behind it. I'm
I was
just
gonna say
saying.
you are Irish and also would be an IATSE or will be an IATSE when you get into the
And also lazy.
also very lazy. But we'll come back to IATSE because I got a lot to say about that. In the meantime, one big kind of thing that happened this week was the Supreme Court apparently, in an inability to check itself, decided to. Well, the conservative justices have been very vocal about like, this is not a political body. Just because we undo 50 years of court jurisprudence, we're doing so because of the law, not because our beliefs. Absolutely. Why wouldn't that be the situation?
It is maddening. Number one, I appreciate my Supreme Court justices shutting the fuck up when they're not writing opinions.
Oh, yeah.
That's my personal. Maybe I'm old fashioned in this way. You know,
So you're
you
a Rehnquistian. You're Rehnquistian then. That's what it is.
I mean, like, I think there's the, like, there was a part of like Scalia and RGB that would only talk when they were like giving like some speech at a law school or something like that.
Also, they were
Like,
known.
I'm
They
not
were
saying-
known as being the two. There's like, all right, well, we got one on the left, one on the right.
Yeah,
They'll talk. Everybody else be quiet.
Yeah, but I'm saying like I'm okay with them like having like a talk in front of law school students or something like that.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you didn't have a sit down interview with Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh, no.
Where
Yeah.
she was going to tell you where she was thinking on CNN. You know, like
She was dying, and she didn't give an interview because she didn't want to like I guess weigh the deck against something. I don't know.
yeah.
But we didn't.
I
hear
mean,
from her.
yeah, and having so many of the conservative justices here speak out about how it's wrong of people to say that the political ideologies of individual justices have stained the Supreme Court is just poppycock and ridiculous, and how dare you, and you know, this is a grand institution and blah blah blah. It was a grand institution. There were various times where I honestly felt like the Supreme Court, even though it made hideously wrong decisions from time to time, was the ideal version of a Supreme Court. Was
Yeah.
the ideal version of what a top court in a country should be. And you know, obviously, everyone makes awful decisions, so you can't come back at me all you will with individual Supreme Court cases, but like, there's no way this is going to work perfectly every time.
Yeah.
This is as close as it possibly could get. The conservative bastion of this court right now is blowing it up. There's no other. It has become politics of this age because it's literally nothing. It's all or nothing. It's you're 100% in on one thing or the other. Your political ideology is going to paint how you feel about an issue. You know, it's the reason why I couldn't be a judge in a Derek Jeter murder trial. You know, I would be too biased. There's no way I would be able to look around the evidence. I would throw everything out that didn't help my case. I would be an awful judge for that thing. And if people can't, you literally just have to find 9 people who can literally just look at something like they've never seen it before and then judge it based off of previous case law
Yep.
and previous decisions. That's literally the job. Like, I would love it if I knew nothing about you. If you were coming up for the Supreme Court and it's Ben Jacobs and we've never heard of his name before, he's never done anything. He's just some random guy who happened to be a judge quietly for the last 30 years.
I like that guy.
You know?
I like him already. I don't even
Yeah.
know where he is. Super conservative? Okay. If he's not outspoken about something. I mean, the conservative justices who are saying, like, the politicization of this court. Let me tell you how that news conference ends. They're like, okay, I'll take any questions. Yes. Guns? Oh, available on demand. Whenever. Doesn't matter. Yes, you. Abortion? Nope. Outlawed. Roe versus Wade. We're done with that. It's just like, okay, so what you're saying is you take all conservative political positions and you find laws to justify them. No, absolutely not. How dare you? If we look at the full history of the country and the way the Constitution was built, it would clearly show you that the Founding Fathers hated Roe versus Wade, and they were very much for everyone having guns all the time, even the mentally insane. And everybody, just two guns. Why not 2? We're going to make it a requirement that you must own 2 guns. Everyone. But it's foolish for anyone to think it's not politicized. It shouldn't be. But the problem is that the court was always meant to be a moderating force. Like, that's why people stayed quiet. Like, the Rehnquist court started this track of getting more politicized. But like the early version of the Rehnquist court was essentially like, all right, so we have a bunch of justices that are on the spectrum, but this is the spectrum they are on, and this is the political spectrum. Like, yeah, we have right and left, but they're all moderates. So they try to keep us in a line, basically, without these like wild gesticulations. And Roe versus Wade was not a wild gesticulation. It was like, oh, there are hundreds of people dying every year. This is something that's happening. We should just make a thing that can happen. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. I I'm so I don't know. I'm just so angry with where everything is going. Like there's no bastion uh uh of true, honest, open thought to any kind of issue that comes up because it's got to be something comes up tomorrow, right? Something we've never discussed before. Like tree branches cause cancer, right? Like immediately Democrats and Republicans will go streaming to whoever they listen to, like Tucker Carlson and AOC and all these people
Yeah.
will just have their Twitter accounts like jam packed with people trying to figure out how they're supposed to feel about an issue. Like it's not, it's just like fucking just look at it. Like you get a piece of information, think about it, say to yourself, well, what would I do if I could do something about this? This is what I did with the fucking Pandora Papers.
Yeah.
I said, well, I don't feel like people should be able to hide just unlimited money in trusts outside of the United States. How would we go about altering that system? Like
I will say though, there is one
you
last
think about
bastion.
it, you come up with a decision, and then you come up with how you would fix it.
There is one last bastion of equality and truth and justice.
IATSE?
No, Madame Guillotine. She does not care about your political beliefs. She does not care about your sense of justice. There is justice for all. Just let her give you a nice big hug. Stick your head right in there. Gonna give you a hug.
Well, I think we should take that moment, the moment to cut the feed for just a second.
This is we should do breaks every time because you let me get going and then you're like, let's take a break. He'll cool off. It's fine. But yeah, okay. So for those
3.5 minutes into the show, I'm just like, hey, let's take a break.
Who are you on, Alex Jones's network now? What's going on? All right, so we are going to take a very quick break. It'll be a cut in the video. We'll be back live. Actually, it won't be a cut in the video. I think I'm just going to leave the video. I'll let the video run. But we will be back to you in just 1 second. So hang out. Thanks. And we're back. Hey, thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah, so I really want to talk about this whole IATSE thing
Right,
because
they're lazy and you hate all of them. I remember from the first
no,
half.
not at all, not at all. Uh, I'm firmly behind the strike, as is most IATSE members, and the way I know that's the case is because they had a vote on whether to authorize a strike. 90% roughly of IATSE members voted in it, and the result was 98% said let's strike. So
Well, they didn't say let's strike. They said
well, let's give authorization to the people who are
who to call the strike.
yeah to the negotiators to say that we are willing to go on strike if our demands aren't met.
See, it's not that either. Okay, so people are clear about this. Essentially, what the negotiator said is we need the authority to strike, and we need IATSE members to say yes, we support a strike declaration, or we don't. It is in part a negotiating tactic, but it's not like they will now go into the room and say, well, we could strike. They've been saying that for a while, and now they have the backing of all. See, they don't actually have to take a vote. The board leaders can say, we're striking starting tomorrow. What they want to know is that when they do that, people will stay home from work, not go into work. So the vote is basically to say, will you stay home with us if we strike?
I will say this without hesitation. They'll stay home.
Yeah.
People will stay home. The people will do it.
Now, IATSE covers a lot of stuff in Hollywood, and the writer's strike, bad. But theoretically, anything that was already written could continue in production.
Yeah.
This is not that situation at all.
No. Yeah. So basically, for people who don't know how Hollywood unions work, there's the Screen Actors Guild, there's the DGA, there's the WGA, there's the Producers Guild. These handle the actors, writers, directors, producers of Hollywood.
Yeah.
The top line people, if you will. Everyone else, from camera people to sound people to grips to electric to
some writers, animators, editors.
I mean, editors, yes, of course, and like just everyone is basically broken down into a chapter. So like
local, if you will,
a local, and then like 695 is the sound local, right? So every sound person in LA who's in the union is in 695. There's not that many people in 695, but there are a ton of people in IATSE because it's all the people grouped together as one collective union, essentially.
Yeah. So basically, it's like, hey, we don't have that many people editing, or that many people on sound, or that many people writing animated shows, which is another IATSE chapter. So what we want to do is unionize, but we don't have that much power. Because in the end, if only the sound editors went on strike, we could find a way around that. But if the sound editors and the camera people and the grips and costumes and animated writers all say, no, when they strike, we strike, we're going to shut down the whole fucking town. You can't do anything.
Well, not even the whole fucking town, because there's IATSE locals in Georgia. There's IATSE locals in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. Two places where a lot of filming is taking place at this moment. They won't work.
In Canada, where we do a lot of stuff as well, apparently they are about to do or planning on doing a vote of support to say, if you are working for the AMPTA, was that no AM? Fuck.
AMP. I always get it mixed up too, because it's like multiple.
I think it is AMPTA.
No.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, look it up. But basically, if you are filming for them in Canada, then we support a strike for them too. Basically.
Yeah, it's the AMPTP.
PTP.
That's why I always keep messing it up, because it's the PTP part that always throws it off.
Yeah.
Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers.
There we go. So basically,
unlike producers like the Producers Guild, this is speaking more as like the studios, essentially.
Yes, the makers, the people who fund everything. But so in Canada, they're also talking about having a partial strike only of AMPTP projects, so that basically you have nowhere to go. Go to Vancouver, nope, strike. Go to Georgia, strike. New Mexico, strike. California, strike. Everywhere. So,
I mean, essentially, what I think people need to understand is that the working conditions on film and TV work is pretty inhumane.
Yeah.
So think about it like this: if I'm on a feature, right? I'm on a feature film and it's going for 4 weeks. So my entire month is blocked up with this feature film, right?
Yeah.
On Monday, I'll show up for the first day at 6 a.m. and then I'll work for 12 hours, right? We need to have 10 off between our next day of work. So it gets backed up a little bit each day. So the second day I'm showing up at 10 a.m.
So yeah, don't skip this because it's 12 hours, but that doesn't
Minimum.
mean it's the end of your day. Yes, that's where
Almost
it starts. Yeah.
There's other people who will, like, thankfully as sound, I show up, before we start rolling because I got to get my kit together and everything like that. But I mean, like, I show up, but I'm not there as early as people who are like in transportation, or I'm not as early as people who are like the PAs or anybody else who's like getting things ready, or locations, anything that happens before people actually show up. Those people often work longer hours because they show up earlier and then have to leave later. So even from my perspective, where, like, I routinely work 12 plus hour days on set, there's some person who's on that same set working 14 hours if I'm working 12, and the 10-hour turnaround time often reflects the people who, leave with me.
Yes.
Like, it's not like they don't factor in the person who's got to drive to fucking Santa Clarita with a truck and park it somewhere,
and then drive home and then sleep
and then drive home
wake
at the
up.
end of it.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the worst part. So, I mean, basically what this leads to is something we call Fraturdays, right? So throughout the week, you work 12, 14-hour days, and it keeps backing it up because the 10 hours off. And then eventually it comes to Friday, and it's supposed to be the last day of work for the week, but you're getting a call at 6 p.m. So you started the week waking up for your job at 6 a.m. By Friday, you're waking up for your job at 6 p.m. And then you're working, call it 12 hours, all the way to 6 a.m. the next morning on Saturday, where you drive home fucking exhausted. You go to sleep at, 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And then you wake up sometime in the afternoon on Saturday. You've basically blown the entire day.
Yep.
You have to readjust your schedule to wake up for your 6 a.m. call the following Monday. So your Sunday is kind of shot because you wake up so early just to counteract the lack of sleep you've been getting. And, you don't get a day off effectively because you're so tired and worn out. And like, you see me at the end of like 3 weeks on set, like on a feature and stuff like that. I on Sundays, I'm just dead, and I can't. How am I supposed to go to the bank or like go to a doctor's appointment or spend time with my family or do anything, anything that I should be deserving to do as like a person who's working? But the problem is that people sort of think about it like, oh, you're working in Hollywood, you're working in movies, you're working on a dream thing. And this works against the people who work on set too, because, I want to be accommodating to people. I want to do a great job. I want people to say, oh, thank God Corey was here. He really saved the day. I want to be there for people. But there will be producers who take advantage of any little thing you give them and ruin you. Like, there's nothing like, just like you're a zombie person while you're working on this shoot. And reasonable rest and accommodation should not be something that one of the largest labor unions in the country needs to fight so hard for. Like, it should be given, because like, if you worked at Walmart and they forced you into 16-hour days, and then on Monday you're working at 6 a.m. and on Friday you're working at 6 p.m., people wouldn't do it because Walmart isn't worth it, Well, and so but there's a thing that all of us have where we want to be a part of this thing, where we want to be a part of movies, and there's been a general taking advantage of by people who are studios and stuff like that, effectively. And I mean, like, one of the things that I really am standing like firmly behind IATSE on is applying what new media is.
Right.
So the last time this deal was negotiated, Netflix was a baby company.
The discs. They're sending you discs.
Trying something new. They were actually making content at the time.
Oh, okay.
But it was like, it was House of Cards days. It was like, this is a gamble,
Oh, wait. So it was when the streaming content was a supplement to the discs that you had. I remember House of Cards was like, I'm going to watch this on the internet.
It was Netflix and Quickster.
Yes.
But basically, there was a deal negotiated where it said the minimum that you could pay somebody on a new media project, which is basically stuff for the internet.
Streaming, yeah.
It wasn't even called streaming at the point.
Yeah,
It was just like stuff for the internet. Netflix is a brand new company who's trying something different. They're trying to create a new workplace for people. So we're going to be accepting of the fact that they're not going to be able to pay the same rate that Disney would, you know?
Right.
So they came up with this new media thing. And Netflix at the beginning was paying people really good, was paying people the wages that they deserved and stuff like that. Because they didn't want to be seen as like a bad shop to work at. But over time, a lot of new media,
the bean counters at new media got involved.
People at new media said, hey, we can just pay people less. Why are we doing,
Yes.
And also in the time between the last contract being negotiated and the new one, new media now includes companies like Disney and Warner Brothers and Universal.
Everyone, literally everyone. Yeah.
And it's not Warner Brothers, it's AT&T, it's literally every company has a streaming service in which they make content.
Yeah.
And, you might say to yourself like, oh, well, they had Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian. That's a different, like he's a director. He's going to get his money.
Yeah.
Like an actor, if they're on a Netflix show, they're going to get theirs.
Yep. The writers,
but
going to get theirs.
If they're a known name and they have something really great, they're going to get theirs. But when it comes time to not every crew position, because like there is a little bit of a thing about a cinematographer. If you got deacons on your project,
gotta
that
pay
means a lot. But I mean, like under the idea that like any 5 people can be a grip on your project.
Yeah.
Like obviously you want 5 really great ones, but you're not going to pay their rate if they're too high. Well, you're going to get 5 people who will agree to the new media rate.
Yep.
And it just ends up hurting everybody in the end. So if you're watching Netflix tonight and you're saying like, oh boy, I really would like to support the people who make all this stuff, understand that it's largely the people that you don't know the names of behind the camera, in the credits, at the end of the thing.
Yeah.
Because
it's the names at the Oscars where when they do the postmortems or whatever, in memorance, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That you're like, I don't know who that is. And then every actor in the room is just like you don't understand like the work that this guy does. It's crazy good.
Yeah.
Known in the industry, but not outside.
Yeah, I mean, like, if there was an Onion article that nailed it a long time ago. Onion always nails it, but it was just like Luis Gomez, highest paid grip in Hollywood history, had $7.8 million for the picture, and they were talking about him like he was like a movie star, and it's just like, like, listen, nobody sets up a C-stand like Luis. We tried everybody else. It's just not. It's worth it for the production.
Well, and I mean, listen, it's also a very
hotshot grip.
It's a suspicious group. So if you have some experienced grip on your very first film as a director, and then you're like, oh, this went really well, but largest movie release of all time. Okay, guess who I'm hiring? And guess who every studio I'm going to force to hire every single time. Because then, at some point you put out some project without Luis on it and it doesn't do as well. And you're like, fucking Luis, I knew it was him. What am I doing?
My lucky charm. I need him.
I need to just see him in the side holding a light stand up while I'm directing. It's the only way I can do this.
Just the flag dramatically. And
I am a fraud.
The corner, you're right.
Luis is everything. I am a fraud, which is basically how everybody in Hollywood feels. But the funny thing is, not funny, but funny weird, that with all of this power, IATSE has never struck before. Never.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, it's recognized how much power they have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, IATSE has been coming to the AMPTP with very reasonable demands, like reasonable hours.
Yeah. Normal working hours.
Normal working hours and, work being paid the same amount for work that's being done by Disney and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Seeing as Disney is a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that they can afford to pay somebody, an extra $200.
Yeah.
And IATSE knew, like, if they became the union that struck all the time, then like people would, because Hollywood as a concept, movies as a concept, has always been about going to wherever the place can be.
Yep.
So
that they're in Hollywood.
By Edison in Jersey, and they went to Hollywood to avoid his patents. You know?
Yeah.
when movie production started shooting in Vancouver or Georgia or New Mexico, it's because they found capable people who were able to do the work in a place that was cheaper than LA.
Also, yeah, the taxes, the tax havens. That's why.
Oh well, yeah, and I mean like the amount you can save because they're gonna just pay for you to shoot in Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean that all adds in, but I mean like, IATSE literally it will have a profound effect like you wouldn't understand if IATSE went on strike. Well, and it feels like a game of chicken at this point. But IATSE will strike. They will leave.
The other side of this is that the AMPTP got some pretty drastic concessions from the Writers Guild. Because the Writers Guild, although they authorized a strike, didn't really want to strike in back-to-back negotiations. Because the last time there was a strike, it was in a negotiation. So, let's try to avoid that. And the Directors Guild basically follows what the Writers Guild does. Except for they never strike with the Writers Guild. They honor the lines, but they don't actually go out and strike with them.
The other thing is that all these contracts sort of negotiate or run out at different times too.
Yeah.
So other higher end, I mean higher paid departments like directors and actors get paid better than camera and sound, Mm-hmm. But if they negotiate something that could help us, then we come in behind that and negotiate upon that ideal, But
when they give up, when they have concessions, then the AMPTP comes in and says, well, the writers gave this up, the directors gave it, the producers gave it up. Why aren't you willing to give it up? Well, it's something that actually impacts the writers. Sitting in a chair for 14 hours isn't the same as my guy moving the camera around,
things up a hill.
Yeah. It's way different. And so they don't get the support. And I think that the AMPTP thinks one, they've never struck, they won't strike, and we got a bunch of concessions. We can push some concessions on IATSE too, and they need to call the bluff. That's what I would say.
And I started this with a story about Fratter days and how my schedule is unpredictable and I never know how long the day is going to be and blah blah blah. But at the end of this thing, what we're really trying to focus on is that there are people who literally die and have awful health conditions because they work these hours. It's a young man's game. You can't be 70 and work 14 hours on set.
Yeah.
There are people who are young and virile and energetic and they fall asleep driving home and crash their car and die.
Yep.
This is not a victimless crime that people are working 14, 16 hours. The only reason why they do it is because largely the studios and the people who the bean counters, if you will, say that it is more worth it to have somebody work overtime and pay them overtime than it is to give them an extra week on this shoot and shoot reasonable hours,
Yeah.
Because that's effectively what it is, and there's fines. If you're late for lunch, if you don't get lunch at a certain time, they fine, the production gets fined and then you get the money from that as a meal penalty. But the fine isn't, it doesn't stop them. It costs more, or it costs less to pay the fine than it does to
pay the workers,
skip out on people's lunch, you know? So it all around, some things need to, there's a come to Jesus moment that's coming here. And I'd be interested to see where the AMPTP takes it from here.
And we're gonna keep posted over the next few weeks, because obviously it's gonna come to a head now that there's a strike authorization. They'll go in and say, all right, here's our bottom deal, match this, meet this, or we strike. That's it. And they should. And if they meet it, great. There's no strike. If they don't, then you go out on strike and you say, okay, so now here is our bottom, because now that we're striking, we're gonna get more. And just wait for them to give, because if you're the AMPTP, again, you might make money on what exists, but I have already watched all of Squid Game. I would like the next thing, Netflix, and Netflix has to be thinking all right, this dude is blowing through a whole show in one day. That means I need essentially 300 new things to make him be on the platform and want to watch next year. I'm not going to have that.
And here's the thing. We know they have the money because if you've noticed, Netflix isn't running out of content right now. And the reason why is because people like me, not me specifically, because I was not getting these offers. I was not being overpaid to go in for COVID and stuff like that. But a lot of people risked their health and safety to work during COVID
Yep.
on shows that people like, and there wasn't nearly as much production as there usually is, and people noticed it and they were clamoring for it, and Hollywood provided for them. So it's just all they're looking for is a little bit of equity. Like, they're just looking for a little equality in this whole thing, because it's just like not fair to, you wouldn't do this to any other job, I
have to say, it's one of the good things to come out of COVID is that these guys who've been burning themselves out 50 weeks a year for every year finally got a chance to be like, oh, I have kids. Let me go hang out with my kids. Let me get my mental health in order. Let me sleep on a regular schedule for 4 months in a row. And now they're like, this is fucking nice. I'd like to continue to do this. Why can't we not do this? Like, my wife works a job full time and she's home 6 every night, leaving at 8, home by 6. There's no reason we can't have something more reasonable than I leave at 6 and I get back at 6.
Yeah.
And then I have to sleep a few hours in the middle of the day, and
not just a random day, every single day, every day. Moving on.
Yeah. So
other things that are plaguing California.
I was gonna say other problems in California. If you haven't seen the news, I don't know why you wouldn't have seen it, but there was an oil spill off the coast of California, and that might come as news to people. But Southern California, rich history of oil production, and if you're standing on Long Beach and you look out in the ocean, you don't see anything. It's just a beautiful ocean. But just beyond the horizon, where they can hide it and not have people see it from the beach, are platforms pulling oil out of the earth. And the way they get that back to the land is a pipeline under the water, one of which got a leak and has caused 126,000 acre oil spill, which, thanks to the currents here that keep the weather so pleasant, is going to spread oil up and down the beaches from Long Beach down to into Orange County and down south. So nice.
Just so people who don't live in Southern California know too, we don't just hide all our oil derricks though. No. I mean, you can
Long Beach is a nice neighborhood.
You can go into plenty of McDonald's parking lots and see oil derricks around.
Only in certain neighborhoods, though. Not all neighborhoods.
Literally any neighborhood that has oil will get a fucking derrick.
If you're in
There's
Hollywood,
a reason why the show is called Beverly Hillbillies. They found the oil.
That's not why it's called it. If you're walking in Hollywood and you see a sheen on the sidewalk, don't touch it and then taste it to see if it's oil. It's not oil. But
also, don't eat oil. That's I don't know what to. I don't.
But if you're driving through the South
maybe I'm the first one to tell you this, but don't eat oil.
If you're driving through the South Bay, if I try to go from my house to the South Bay, you're going to go a lot of city, nothing happening, then a set of hills, oil derricks everywhere in the hills. Yeah. And then you get to the other side, and that's where you will find, as Corey pointed out, parking lots with oil derricks in them. Because it's like, it's still pumping. We're good.
It ain't going to pump itself.
But
but maybe it shouldn't pump offshore as much.
I mean, that's the lesson.
I mean, listen, I understand the concerns of the oil and gas industry, and that we only have a limited amount of oil, and if you want to get it, you gotta do things like this and blah blah blah. But much like nuclear power has been so heavily regulated, it's not because 99% of the time nuclear power works great and there's no concerns. It's because the 1% of the time, or the less than 1% of the time.
Let's be fair. The 0.00001% of the time that it doesn't work well.
I just merely rounded up, but I'm saying most of the time it works flawlessly. It's one of the cleanest forms of energy we have. Tremendous in generating a lot of electrons and stuff like that. But when it goes wrong, it goes horribly, horribly wrong. So
I was today years old when I realized that Corey doesn't understand how a nuclear reactor works. But, okay, go ahead.
Today was
making electrons. I'm like, what? Okay.
Guy on the assembly line making the electrons.
Turning the crank, get some electrons going.
Yeah, the widgets and the whatchamacallits and the electrons.
But listen, we are in the perfect position as a person who doesn't own a car and a person who owns an all-electric vehicle. I would love to comment about how $5 gas isn't that big a deal.
Yeah. By the way, highest price ever for gas in California was reached today, and I didn't even know.
Yeah, weird.
Not like I went to the pump and found out. It's amazing how this electric.
I stopped and got a Snickers at the store, and I was like, "Holy fuck! How much is gas right now?"
And you know what? I bet you almost anything. I didn't click on the headline to find out where that gas station was, but I can almost guarantee it's the one right down the street from me. There's no way that's not the most expensive gas station in the entire.
Wait, are you talking
United
about
States.
the Shell that's on Broad, or the Exxon that's there at the corner across from Union Station?
Oh, across from Union Station.
Oh yeah, that one.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. The Shell station just always seems to be like 4 weeks behind everybody else. It's just like, wow, this gas is cheap. And you go back to the next week and you're like, what the fuck? It jumped $1.40 in a week? Like, yeah, it happens. I don't know.
It kind of reminds me of going all the way back to college when I got off at Penn Station.
Yeah.
After taking the awful Amtrak.
Oh, God.
And all I said to myself was, God damn, I need a cigarette right now. And then I look and find out I have no cigarettes and I have to go buy cigarettes. And then you go to the newsstand that's right outside of Pennsylvania Station. You say, all right, they're going to gouge me. But how bad are they going to gouge me? And then, by the way, just as a point of reference here, when I was buying cigarettes in Maryland at that time, they were like $5 something,
$5.50?
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, $5.50 maybe. That pack of cigarettes at Union Station or at Pennsylvania Station, they were trying to get me for $19.70 or some shit like that, and I'm just like,
Wait.
Sir, you found your price where it doesn't make sense anymore. I will literally walk to a Dwayne Reed down the block. It'll be fine. Like,
that just reminded me, we shouldn't talk about the birth of your child on the show publicly. Because that dude at Penn Station, I believe you owe him your firstborn. And it's going to be a problem.
Come and collect.
Some dude shows up. He's like, hello, Mr. Baker. I don't know if you remember me. I gave you a pack of cigarettes when you were in need. And like the devil, I've come to collect.
She's going to work at the newsstand. She'll have a fine life.
Because he lives at the newsstand, too. Like, it's just him living. Oy. Anyway, so...
Walking around outside playing that game with a stick and a ring.
It's 1870. 1870 New York. Watch out for the horse and buggy, dear. Anyway, so speaking of children, our final story of this week. We're going to talk about COVID. Yes, the pandemic is still, in fact, going on. Yes.
What?
2,000 people a day still dying. I don't know if everybody was aware of that. And I asked you in the pre-show, Corey, whether it was going to make a difference that the fastest growing group of deaths are now amongst 5 to 15-year-olds. And I think you accurately responded when you told me...
No.
Absolutely not. Nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, like, no.
But just FYI for everybody out there, the fastest growing group of deaths, 5 to 15-year-olds who, by the way, can't be vaccinated, which is where we get into the irony of some people can't.
What's amazing was part of the argument was in March of 2020. Well, it's really hitting old people and like the really old and the really weak, the immunocompromised.
Yes,
yeah.
got it. Yep. Got it. It's there. Yep, we'll do it in post.
Add a little hairball. Sorry.
We'll do it in post. It's fine. Unless IATSE goes on strike, then it's gonna be a problem.
I'll just move yours over onto mine. Everyone's thing was like, well, all these people were gonna die.
No. You're right. All these people are gonna die soon anyway. So who really cares?
They were making the argument like, yes, an 85-year-old is gonna die 2 months earlier because he got COVID. Boo hoo, blah blah blah. And part of the thing was people kept saying, well, it's not affecting children at all. Yeah. I don't know why we can't continue living our lives. It's not affecting children. Now it's affecting children. And people are just like, fuck it. I can't be bothered. I can't possibly do one easy thing that could severely impact the community around me. Like, there's nothing that could be done. It's like,
well, and
maybe you can get a vaccine. No, I'm not. not going to do that. Why would I?
Hotspot of infection.
Perhaps you should wear a mask. No, fuck you.
Hey, I know you're vaccinated, but there are friends of yours who have kids who are not vaccinated, and if you get an asymptomatic infection and you give it to them and they give it to their kids could die. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck them kids. I don't care. And hotspot of the current rise in cases, Florida being the responsible state that it is, and the state full of grown-ups, has now selected a new Surgeon General who does not believe in COVID or vaccines or standard things like social distancing. And in fact, has been recommending for the last year that Florida not follow the CDC guidelines. Not as Surgeon General. Now he's in charge. So now he can actually make them not follow CDC guidelines.
Why did they pick Florida man to be the person? Be the
of all the people you could have chosen. Here we are.
Why didn't you outsource from outside of the state?
Because Ron DeSantis is going to be president of the United States.
The person who lives in Florida is not the person to be deciding this.
I feel much the same about Alabama, who's about to use COVID money to build jails. And I'm like, this seems like a very Alabama decision. Can we bring in some consultants from elsewhere and just see what they have to say?
I don't know. I mean,
God.
The worst part is, there were countries that were doing really well. Like New Zealand, at one point, had no COVID cases.
Yes.
Like for weeks. Like, they were down to like, less than a dozen cases and no deaths. And they were really like the stars of the pandemic as far as like how you could do this right. And then literally so much of the world just said, fuck it.
Yep.
That now New Zealand has basically admitted there's nothing we can do. Like there's no safeguard we can put in place that will protect you. So they're locking down again.
Yep.
Auckland is locked down right now.
As they should, because it's responsible. It's the thing to do when infections get out of hand.
It's just I will never understand. It's what's so mind-numbing about it is like, well, it's just old people. Well, now it's young people because we didn't choose to do anything about it.
Right. Well, fuck them kids, Corey. And fuck them kids.
And how many stories do you see of like some COVID vaccine denier saying that it's a microchip and I ain't putting that shit in my body and Bill Gates gonna track me, interviewed on CNN with a fucking ventilator in, and they're saying like, oh, my only message to everybody out there is it's real and take the vaccine, and I might die, and I didn't if I knew it was real I would have done it.
They got to him. They got to Ray has been compromised.
Some vaccine denier who's like watching this at home is saying like, well, that ain't gonna happen to me because I live in Alabama where there ain't no COVID cases.
Clearly, yeah.
Not allowed here in Alabama because we shoot at it with our guns.
That was a nice Forrest Gump accent you put on there. I enjoyed that.
It's like, yes, it'll come for you, and yes, it will come for the ones that you love if you are not trying your absolute damnedest to stay as safe as humanly possible. And yes, I understand that things are open, but you don't have to go to everything.
You don't.
That's the other.
Stay the fuck home.
I mean, like, I just there's things I'd like to do. Like the Ravens played in Denver this past weekend. I would have loved to have gone. I love Denver. Seeing a football game with my favorite team, I would have enjoyed that. Oh yes, that as well. I mean,
that's the visual gag for people watching the video.
But I mean, there's many reasons why I would like to enjoy Denver. But it just doesn't feel like now is the time.
No.
Because pandemic and all.
Yep.
So maybe next year the Ravens played in Denver again, and then I can see them then. But
probably not.
Hopefully by then COVID is over with.
We'll see.
Maybe enough of these dumb people die from COVID, and the only ones left are the ones who are taking it seriously.
Well,
because I don't know, I literally don't know what else is gonna. If there's no time, if people have given up on being able to stay ahead of it, then all you're doing is just playing from behind constantly.
Yep.
You're never dealing with the surge that's coming. You're dealing with the end of the one you just dealt with.
Yes.
And the worst part.
Go ahead.
Sorry. One last quick thought. The worst part is we're going to look at cases and deaths here soon, and we're going to say like, oh wow, we've really turned the corner, we've really done it. There's not a lot of people getting sick right now. I think we solved it. And it's going to be much like this last surge has been worse than a year ago.
Yep.
The surge in the winter this year is going to be worse than the one a year ago.
Yep.
The one that we were all freaking out about because people have given up effectively against trying to safeguard themselves from it. And I don't, don't be Ron DeSantis saying Florida figured out COVID a year ago.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get their cases yet, And believe me, Florida didn't figure out COVID.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I've raged.
You're the person who's going to survive the winter surge if you're going to go to every single bar and, tongue kiss random people.
Good thing you're not single. So I've raged about this topic before.
Is that what kids do these days?
Yes, it is. I've raged about this before, but I posted on Instagram, IGTV this week, where I basically explained that I figured out why I'm so angry. So I encourage people to go watch that there. But if someone wanted to find out another place where everyone was coming for them, Corey, where might they go?
Oh, just a little old site called OhTheAnthem.com. Corey at OhTheAnthem.com. Oh, the Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, and @LegendsP5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I was on set today, so I couldn't possibly make a video. But Rob, what do you got?
Oh, well, I suppose that's
working on somebody else's video today.
Oh, that's true. I guess you were working on someone else's video. So, and I realized I never fixed the my solo. So here we're back to the two. But you can find more of me at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks. I stream occasionally on Twitch, Robert and Cheek there as well. You can become a friend of mine on Call of Duty or Activision, and we can play together. That's Ankou, Ankou. Kerr, Ker, is YS. So find me on there. We can play. I actually put out some content this week again. IGTV is up. I'm going to eventually get the stuff off YouTube and put it there as well. But Corey hasn't made anything in a long time. Anyway, so you can find all of the stuff there and more at robertandcheek.com. There you go.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
Surprisingly, we've done something, but I don't think it's good. I'm not sure if it's good. That's the line. Not sure if it's good. Use take two. But as always, you're listening to the Oh, the Anthem podcast, part of the Oh, the Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
Strike.
So no, we say solidarity. Solidarity, which is a way of saying, strike, motherfuckers. I got your back.
I got your back. I will be on the street corner with you. Don't think I won't.
He's got nothing better to do till the baby comes.
Can't show up to the hospital. I'm on strike.